Welcome to the Surviving BPD Relationship Breakup podcast. Expert knowledge delivered with compassion and empathy with your host, counselor and trauma recovery coach, ajmahari. To purchase and book sessions with ajmahari, visit ajmahari.ca. And now your host.
You're borderline, especially if it's a woman, that you're borderline is a psychopath. That co-morbid narcissist borderline? Well, you're probably not correct about all of that, but it can feel that way. And when you're going off of how you feel and how devastated you are in trying to get to the BPD relationship breakup for so many people, and then the healing process at that point, plus going forward, you got much more coming on BPD and ASPD. And what's accurate and what's not. And that'll be coming at ajmahari.ca. In the meantime, I'm here to work with you if I resonate with you, because there's so much that people need to understand about how much of this narrative that your borderline is a psychopath. And they have this, quote, secondary psychopathy or now straight up psychopathy with comorbidity with ASPD. There's so much more to understand about that. And so I'm not here to make any apologies for people with BPD whatsoever, but I would still assert that if you think that you're borderline, some people are going to be right, but most people aren't going to be correct, that you think your borderline is a psychopath, chances are, no, they're not, but borderline personality disorder is that formidable. And there's a lot going on with people with BPD, and all of it, if they're untreated and not well treated and they haven't been in therapy for years, what goes on with people with borderline personality disorder, first and foremost, before you think about it's comorbid with this, it's comorbid with that, they've got everything, and they're evil and they're monsters and all this other stuff. Well, borderline personality disorder in its own right is formidable. And what do you need to know most about it? You're never going to be able to change them. You're not going to be able to rescue them. Your relationship, when you're hurting and you're searching on YouTube, all kinds of places online, and you're looking for answers that just aren't there. Guess why? Because these relationships are impossible and unhealthy, and you need to get into a healing recovery journey out here to work with you if I resonate with you so that you can get to the BPD relationship breakup that will be final for you, which takes a lot of work for people. People can't just necessarily get there without first working with somebody like myself who is an expert in this area. And I've been doing this for 33 years altogether and 28 years online. Whether or not you think you're borderline is this, that, or the other thing plus a borderline, what about you and how you're actually going to survive a BPD relationship breakup? It is a complicated, multi-layered process to survive the BPD relationship breakup so that you can start to heal and move forward and not continue to just be in the revolving door recycling on-off, quote, BPD relationship breakup. What people need to realize is anything and everything but an actual breakup. And there are many complicated, multifaceted layers for why that is. And the reality that people in a BPD, quote, relationship breakup, unquote, aren't getting to the breakup. Because it's breakup to make up, it's recycling, it's, but I want him or her back, I can't live with the Hoover, and all of these other things that aren't taking you in the direction that you need to go. And why do you think it's so hard to go in the direction that intellectually many people are at a place of knowing they need to go, but emotionally it still feels impossible? You need to find your way to understanding who that borderline really isn't. Whether that understanding will not be found in endless information about the borderline does this, the borderline does that. Does the borderline do this? Who's the borderline? What's the borderline doing? Is the borderline a comorbid narcissist? Is the borderline a psychopath? Borderline is No, that focus isn't going to help you get to where you need to go. It's going to keep increasing your pain. because that focus is still you negating and abandoning you in the name of, I'm going to understand this borderline through all kinds of information and misinformation out there. I'm going to figure out if they're just a borderline, BPD, NPD, BPD, ASP, they're psychopathic, they're this, they're that, they're the other thing. None of that is going to help you to find the self that you are vastly losing more and more by the day. As you blame the borderline more and more and more for what is now your responsibility and perhaps an unconscious choice, but you continuing to pursue, to try to fix, to try to rescue, to try to change that borderline, to try to recapture who you thought they were. This is leading you all in a direction that is opposite from getting to a BPD relationship breakup and actually being able to heal from that. Know yourself, find yourself, and move forward in an entirely more healthy way in your own life. Whether they're borderline narcissist, borderline psychopathic, which is usually not the case, it doesn't freaking matter. Because when are you going to pay attention to you and your healing, and you're making this BPD relationship breakup an actual breakup so that you can get into your own healing and recovery? You're not going to get what you want here. And there are losses. And what are you going to do about getting into a healing recovery process to start to really radically accept that? Why are your feelings so in control of your choices? And until you realize this, and that all of your logic and all the intellectual capacity that you bring to try to make sense out of the BPD relationship and or the breakup that isn't kind of getting to the breakup, all that logic, all that rationality is only like you spinning the tires of a truck in a lot of muck and getting trapped in it more deeply and more deeply. And it's not going to be the way to get yourself into that process to break the trauma bond, to stop spinning your wheels, thinking that your logic is going to win the day here. Because your logic is going directly against your emotions, whether you're in touch with them or not. And it's your emotions that you need to be able to process in a healing recovery journey, because your logic is not going to change a single thing about what you want, how you want them back, how you want it to work, because you will never change that borderline. Your logic isn't your go-to here. You need to get in touch with your emotions, and yes, that means all of the pain about the breakup, trying to get to the breakup, and the pain that is the reason from your childhood and family of origin that you have codependency and that you got into this relationship unconsciously, unknowingly, in the first place. And the impossibility of this relationship, no matter how much you think it's supposed to work, that this is the person, that if you could just get the person you thought they were back. Codependency has within it formidable denial. You are never going to change the borderline. You are never going to rescue the borderline. This is never going to be possible. And the more you keep denying that and focusing so much on watching video after video and hearing this, that, the other thing, like I said, information here, misinformation over there, vilification of the borderline, oh, they're this, they're that, means you are staying in this codependent denial and pursuit that you learn in your early childhood, that somehow you think you can then, from somewhere, from some information, from something that you hear that resonates with you, whether it's helpful or not, that you can somehow then change the situation, that you have any control over the borderline. You don't. You need to radically accept you will never change the borderline. You will never rescue the borderline. You cannot fix the borderline. And until you start to work in a healing recovery process on that aspect of reality, all the videos, all the information you take in, all the borderline is this, that, like I've said, It's just you escaping your own pain, and it's you continuing to abandon yourself. And as you are determined, perhaps, if this resonates with you, to abandon yourself, but you're not consciously thinking about that, but you're determined to get all this information, misinformation, mixed and matched information about the borderline being this, that, and the other thing, because you're determined to try to make it different. And that's where people with codependency don't realize how much they're in a control struggle in a multitude of ways that is keeping you stuck. And then you want to hear more about the vilification of the borderline, but you're making an unconscious or perhaps not consciously aware choice to continue to fight for control, to create the change that you want, that you feel you desperately need, to try to change that borderline instead of change yourself, or to listen to more and more information vilifying them, usually misinformation, vilifying them, because ultimately you don't know how to let go of this control that is protecting you, but protecting you from the very healing and recovery that you need to choose. You're not going to be able to change that borderline, fix anything, or make it different. So what are you doing when, somebody vilifies the borderline over here and they're all psychopath and they're out to destroy you, but you're still in pursuit? When are you going to get out of your own way and stop the escapism through all the information and, more importantly, the misinformation that you probably resonate with the most, the misinformation, that you want to hear how bad they are, because you can no longer blame your continued pursuit of this information and abandoning of yourself on the borderline. Be they a borderline, a BPD, NPD, or you think your borderline is a psychopath. So now the ball is clearly in your court. And the choice that you need to make might feel bloody impossible, but you've got to use your head to make that choice, to stop thinking that hearing all this information out there vilifying the borderline as this, that, the other thing is going to do anything for you, because it isn't. It's not your way forward, and it's not the way to heal. You need to let it go. You need to work with somebody like myself who's an expert in this area, and you need to face you, your pain, and the multi-layered reality of that. It's not about the borderline anymore once you're seeking all this information to continue to escape, maybe learn, but getting misinformation to continue to escape and feel validated by how horrible the borderline is and the vilification of said even beyond what could be considered reasonable. That just keeps you marching down the codependent repetition compulsion cycles that keep on building the muscles of your codependent denial, keeping you stuck, hurting you. You're losing yourself even more and more. Now, though, it's not the borderline's fault anymore. They've done what they've done. They're responsible for that. But now it's your responsibility to make a new choice to get yourself out of this cycle and out of this agony. So how many more videos vilifying the borderline and mixing all the terminology up and perhaps leading you astray, but hearing it makes you feel so much better right now. How much more time are you going to waste in escapism, listening to or being regaled by what temporarily validates you, as opposed to getting into the healing recovery journey that will do more than validate you? It will help you move forward, break the trauma bond, and do all the necessary healing and recovery that will set you free. People with codependency have to learn in a healing and recovery process, among many other things, how to stop pursuing the impossibility. And why are you doing that? And I help clients to understand that, process that, and move beyond that. And I've been doing that for 33 years. So if you would like to really figure out why you're stuck and why you can't get to the breakup of the BPD relationship breakup and you're hurting like hell, reach out. I'd be happy to work with you and help you, because people can't do this on their own. And people that keep trying to negotiate, to try to compromise, to be hoovered, to engage a hoover, to reverse hoover, to recycle, to have a revolving door, quote, BPD relationship breakup, the on and off again relationship, that your denial and continuing to lose more and more of yourself keeps you stuck in this cycle. And then people think, oh, maybe I'm becoming a borderline. People out there might be telling you, oh, now you have acquired situational narcissism. It's not that. You're losing yourself. You're repeating things that wounded you in your childhood, which is why you have codependency in the first place. And the only way you're going to get through this and get the BPD relationship breakup to be an actual breakup is working with someone like myself, who's an expert. I've been helping clients to do this for 33 years. You can't do this alone. There's no one magical solution, and this takes time. And aren't you worth investing in yourself? Because you're not becoming a borderline, and you're not acquiring temporary situational, like I said, narcissistic anything. You are a person with codependency. You need to understand what that means. You need to work with someone, like how I work with clients, to understand what does that mean and what does that go back to, and how can you heal that, because all this other information out there is just misleading you that you're somehow becoming them. That's ridiculous. But you do need to understand and find yourself more so that you can survive the breakup and get to the breakup to get beyond it. And that takes investing in yourself, investing in sessions, investing in work, and a process of healing and recovery in and through that process, which will enable you, with the help of someone like myself, to break through the codependent denial, the codependent repetition compulsion cycles, the abandonment and sacrificing of yourself, and this idea that there's anything reasonable or healthy about pursuing a borderline, that you will never change, never rescue, never fix, and that you might be thinking is comorbid NPD and a psychopath, but on you go in the pursuit anyway. Don't you want to know what that is about? Don't you want to go deeper? Don't you want to find relief? And yes, you need to break open the trauma bond. You need to do the work with someone like myself to get to where you want to be. And I'm not going to kid you. It's not like it's without pain, but it is some of the most rewarding work and the most important pain to feel, process, and resolve that you will ever be faced with in your life. This is a crossroads in your life right now. What are you going to choose for yourself? To survive the BPD relationship breakup that never ends, that you stay in the trauma bond, that you keep recycling, hurting, etc., listening to all this information out there that may or may not be leading you in the right direction or helping you in a way that you really need it to, versus what feels good for you to hear? Or are you going to choose to actually work through the BPD relationship breakup so that it ends, and that you begin more, and that you can find yourself even more than you knew yourself before the borderline, and you can find independence and make the breakup be a breakup and move forward in your life? You deserve nothing less. You deserve so much more than to pursue a borderline and all the information out there, be it accurate, inaccurate, it makes you feel good, but it might not be what you need to hear. I can only make this statement clearly to you if you resonate with me and you find my work helpful and you want to know more. Check out ajmahari.ca by March 1st. So much more coming that will help you. And if you want to work with me in sessions, I can only tell you that I've been in your shoes, that I've had a relationship with a borderline narcissist, alcoholic, that I've had 2 other relationships with people with BPD, that I know through lived experience along with education and 33 years experience what it takes to accomplish the BPD relationship breakup and go forward in your life in a way that you will not have to ever encounter or fall victim to another cluster B in your life. And make no mistake about it, I can only speak for the information that I'm giving you. If you resonate with me, this is accurate, this helps people, and this is your way forward. And there is no simple way, uncomplicated, quick way to have a BPD relationship breakup actually be a breakup and to begin to heal and recover from that. And if you think it's easier than that, or 12 steps of CODA, or there's one thing to do that, then you're going to find out in a very painful way that that is not a cure. And you're not looking for a cure. You don't need a cure. You need to know more about you. You need to heal from this cluster B. You need to go back to your family of origin. You need to know why you have codependency. You need to process and heal that. And I'm out here to help you, and I'm passionate about it, because make no mistake about this, you are never going to change a borderline. You are never going to rescue a borderline. When relationships in trauma bonds have already been as they are and where you're at now, they don't get better. They don't get repaired. They don't get fixed. You have got to make the breakup be the end. And to get to that end, you need to probably begin to work with someone like myself. You need to realize that you have things that you need to address in your own mental health. You did before you got into the relationship. Now you really do, because of how you've been hurt and wounded and these unhealthy bonds and what these relationships really kind of are driven by, what they run on with the intermittent reinforcement. But here's the key thing I want you to hear today, if nothing else. You can never, you will never be able to fix or change a person with borderline personality disorder or narcissistic personality disorder. And it's not because many of them can't change, but they have to want it. They have to seek the years of therapy that it takes. So I'm very comfortable to say this aspect of what the masses want to hear. You cannot ever change a borderline. You will not ever change that borderline. They are not seeing you. They are not hearing you. When your needs get introduced into the dynamic of the relationship or the on-off, they don't matter. Your feelings don't matter to the borderline. Your feelings aren't understood by the borderline. They don't understand often, no excuse for their behavior. They don't understand how they're affecting you. They're too busy drowning inside. So that's a human reality, but it doesn't make their behavior okay. I'm thinking about what I'm going to do on this channel, if much at all anymore. But I'm going to be giving you a plethora of in-depth information that will really help you to understand this if you're confused by all the different kinds of information out there. Not that my information is the only info, but check out ajmahari.ca around March 1st. Revamped, totally redone website. Gonna have a lot of information products coming your way. Deep dives into aspects of borderline personality. I think I can explain in a little bit of a unique way. It doesn't mean other people aren't getting, to explanations similar. But I really believe I can go a little bit deeper than the average, and I'm gonna keep it real. And so part of that, and part of what I'm experiencing on this channel, and just looking around YouTube or social media in general online, is that this narrative that every borderline woman is a psychopath. Every borderline woman is out to get you, out to destroy you, seducing you, doing all this stuff to you on purpose. It's so erroneous, it's not true. I would like you to think about when you listen to other people with those messages or you read them online wherever you do. Why does that appeal to you? What in that are you hearing that matters? Like, is it making you feel better for now? Is it making you feel better long term? Is it helping you to heal anything? Because the one thing I refuse to do on this channel is give erroneous, inaccurate information and vilify endlessly the borderline or the narcissist. Now, I'm not here to defend them. I don't feel protective of them at all. But I'm not going to say what most people seem to like to hear elsewhere or read elsewhere, just to get clicks and views. Not a chance. So my mandate here, in case you're confused, is to help people with information I can give and over 1,100 videos on this channel and blog posts on ajmahari.ca, blog posts on other websites too, I might list or whatever. My point is that everybody who's experienced what you have with a borderline or a narcissist, and BPD is not a form of NPD, and not all borderlines are going to be out to like wreck your property or whatever. Many do, many don't. I think everybody needs to focus first and foremostly on yourself more, but secondarily, or at the same time, simultaneously, the person with BPD that you are in a relationship with, the person with BPD that you might be trying to go no contact from, the person with BPD that you can't get the breakup to be final with. That's who you need to concentrate on, not what 10,000 other people say about, well, my borderline did this and my borderline did that. Be careful out there, men, too. Men especially. You know, you seem to think that if a man is talking about his experience out there, that he knows exactly what he talking about his experience, he knows what his experience was, we hope, right? But beyond that, that doesn't mean that that's a good source for you. So I see a lot of comments, no judgment toward men, right? But like, it's like, yeah, bro, I went through that, bro, I went through that, bro. Okay, fine, and you're supporting each other. But how does that actually help you to create the change that you need in your life? Misery, agony, confusion, and the kind of pain you're in after a cluster B relationship loves it some company. You want to be validated. You want to hear how horrible they are because you're confused, you're lost, and you're in a lot of pain. And yes, they've really affected you in horrific ways. There's a trauma bond there. So when are you going to stop wanting to just hear this, that, the other, and erroneous things about them often to soothe something now when that isn't going to get you where you need to be? Knowing yourself, having a healthy, functional relationship to and with yourself, healing from your family of origin, childhood woundedness, what created the codependency, and healing from the cluster B relationship so that you can move the heck on and not be listening to videos, reading stuff online, going in these loopy circles for years, as many people out there have been, are, and continue to. It's not about the brotherhood, or for women, the sisterhood of the suffering, or how much everything you went through, you think so the next man or woman went through too, and you can all agree how horrible these people are. I'm not making that value judgment. You feel whatever you want. You make that judgment for yourself. But the key thing is, no matter how much you can hear out there that isn't accurate, more specifically, that will validate, feel so validating. Well, it's all intermixed with otherwise inaccuracy. How in the world is that helping you? Versus keeping you in your truck in the muck, trying to get out of there to create some change, but you can't change or fix or anything with the borderline or the narcissist, or if you think it's a psychopath. You're just going to be in that truck, trying to rev that truck, digging your hole deeper, suffering more, staying stuck, because a truck revved in muck is not going forward, right? It's staying stuck. Think about this seriously. The goal on my YouTube channel, the goal with my podcast, the goal in working with clients is to help people with accurate information, 33 years of experience, and lots of lived experience with that as well, to move on, to get through the process of healing and recovering and moving on to where you will not want to hear one more freaking video about the borderline this, the narcissist that, are they psychopathic, blah, 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 blah. If you don't make this choice for you now, and you keep listening to all these videos vilifying the borderline, narcissist, oh, are they psychopathic? It's at the continued destruction, escapism, and abandonment of yourself. And then so many people with codependency end up in that wayward place of extra blaming the cluster B. They're responsible for what they did. But if you're still hanging around, you're not in the healing and recovery work, journey, process to let go and let the breakup be an end for you, then you're still complicit and responsible for how you're suffering now. Why would I say such a thing? Because they can't hurt you anymore, and they can't have any more power over you if you're not there.
You've been listening to the Surviving BPD Relationship Breakup Podcast. Our passion is to bring expert information for people that are hurt by someone with BPD. We truly hope you've gotten something from the show. Make sure to like, rate, and review. And for more, get sessions with AJ. Go to ajmahari.ca. See you next time.